right. Hufrish, welcome to our platform, Say Cheese. We're so happy to have you on board with us. And I know it's a busy weekday. And thank you so much for taking time out. As we were talking a couple of days ago, I wish we all had mentors, much like what Say Cheese platform is doing for all of us, much earlier on in your career. And it would have really helped us to solve many of our questions.
True, true, so true. Early on in life, if we had access to what Rajpreet has is trying to create today, it would have been a total game changer.
Wonderful, wonderful. So before we get into the topic, let me introduce you to our audience. I've got a wonderful bio and description and introduction about you, and I can't wait to read it out. Hufrish Aibara, based in Gurgaon, has over 20 years of experience in information technology, digital payments, retail banking, and loyalty. She has held senior roles in strategy development, banking and consulting, product management, and strategic partnerships. At HDFC Bank, where Hufrish spent close to a decade, she was part of the core retail banking team and the youngest assistant vice president among her peers. She was instrumental in setting up the direct payments business for the bank, and the business grew 10 times under her leadership. Most recently, with MasterCard, she launched two of the largest loyalty led engagements for MasterCard South Asia and was awarded the ESP, which is the highest sales award in MasterCard, for both these programs. She is an XLRI alumnus and holds a degree in commerce and economics from Delhi University, Delhi. India. She was recently awarded a degree in PSD2 and open banking from MasterCard University. Throughout her career, Hufrish has championed inclusion through various diversity and inclusion employee resource groups. She is passionate about advocacy for the girl child and is a contributor to and a volunteer to the various giving programs on an annual basis. How wonderful, Hufrish, and there is just so much you're doing along with your
Yes. I think I've just gotten started.
one. Lovely to hear that. All right, Hufrish. So, very interesting topic, and I'm sure many women relate to it and want to know more about. So, use your voice, power, and influence in the new normal. So before we get deeper into the topic, I just wanted to understand that as a leader and as you've been for 20 years in a corporate career and now as a leader in the banking and payment space, what has been your experience as a woman leader?
Yes, thanks, Divya, for that introduction. And I must begin with a humble submission. Banking was not a calculated move for me. Rather, the only reason I opted for economics and commerce were because I didn't want to step into a classroom with strangers and I wanted to continue to be with my friends. So, rather, it came to me or I came to it through chance and circumstances. And that's how I started my path into the world of economics and banking. And I started my journey, Divya, with HDFC Bank, where I spent over close to a decade. And those were the formative years of my career and immensely contributed in shaping up my values and slowly giving me the wings to fly. 20 years starting, I can still visualize that day one in my head. It opened up a new horizon for me. It showed me what one can achieve when you bring passion in your everyday life. It taught me to do ordinary things in ordinary ways, but with extraordinary passion. And this is the vision, Divya, that and Rajpreet, that Mr. Aditya Puri had for the bank. And this is the vision that became my motto and my guiding light in life, doing ordinary things in ordinary ways, but with extraordinary passion. And it is for the same reason that today HDFC Bank figures in an elite group of 10 companies identified by Harvard, which have consistently performed better than others around the world for over a decade. So I've been extremely fortunate to be part of a culture, a merit-driven culture, in the early years of my career with HDFC. And in my subsequent stint with the Mahindra Group, the culture we imbibed that was laid out by another great stalwart, Mr. Anand Mahindra, was always to act with the audacity of hope. Hope makes us bold, he said, and when you're bold, you bring success. And these were the words. So these two guiding lights, and more recently with MasterCard, Divya, our chairman, erstwhile CEO and chairman, Mr. Ajay Banga, he instilled a culture of decency, which he called the DQ. DQ means your decency quotient. In simple words, it is a way of treating your co-workers, your peers, your community in the way they want to be treated. Put your hand on their back and not on their face, he used to say to us in the town halls. So, to sum it all up, Divya and Rajpreet, I would like to quote, and I think I remember this quote very often, and it keeps coming back to me, the famous Peter Drucker quote. And he made a very interesting point in the context of culture, which I just spoke to you about, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the point I'm trying to make and share with this beautiful community of young women leaders at Sechi's is that no matter how detailed and solid your strategy is, how detailed and excellent and great your PPT is, if the people executing it don't nurture the appropriate culture, you will fail. Your vision will fail, your plans will fail. So when young women leaders make career decision, and this is out of my experience with the bank, with banking in the last 20 years, when young women leaders make career decisions or are trying to find their voice, trying to get ahead, the culture of the company, the culture of the people should be the guiding light in dancing ahead. It should not be the money, it should not be the fancy important titles. They will come along, but I feel culture should trump it all. And I think I've lived through those great cultures with great organizations, and that's why I can say that with so much of confidence and passion. It's going to be difficult to sum it all up in maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes because it's been what, 20 years. And Divya, I'm a huge fan and follower and of Sheryl Sandberg. She inspires me so much. I read her book very often, and she talks about a very interesting concept in her book Lean In. To your point of highlights of the professional journey, she talks about a metaphor for career, especially for women, in which she says that a career path, it's not like a ladder, it's more like a jungle gym. And I think this is the best description of my professional journey too. Unlike ladders, jungle gyms offer more creative exploration. There are many ways to go up and down the jungle gym, many ways of growth, many ways of fulfillment, many ways of reinventing yourself, obstacles. But ladders are restrictive. You can go up or you can go down. So I've been very fortunate, Divya, to have a combination of many roles within one workplace. Each assignment along my career path has been unique. Be it my first assignment at the personal banking division at the flagship HDFC Bank branch in NCR, or as a core team member of the retail banking team at HDFC corporate office, or when I was chosen as the first cohort of women leaders to be part of an accelerated and fast track career program within the bank. And most recently, to being awarded the Sales Performance Award at MasterCard for launching the largest loyalty led engagements in South Asia. I pride myself in each of these accomplishments because at the core of it all, the guiding light was me. The only person I ever wanted to prove wrong was myself. The only person I wanted to defeat was my last milestone or my last win. So each of these opportunities, Divya, they presented to me in new ways, which I explore myself, reinvent myself, take thoughtful risks, just how it is in a jungle gym. No one is restricting you. No one is asking you to keep going up, 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 or come down. You know how it is with women, and when you're a mother, you have to take a break or a pause. So in that sense, I think jungle gyms are more exploratory. And another reason I had a great run and could accomplish so Divya, is because of the role played by mentors very early on in my life. I was very fortunate to have rock solid mentors and sponsors over the course along my professional journey with HDFC, with Tech Mahindra, MasterCard. I've been extremely fortunate to have the guidance of senior leaders who believed in me at every step along the way. In the new normal or the next normal, as women leaders, they are coming forth in every walk of life and shining. Like what Rajpreet is trying to do, what you're trying to do. It's so beautiful, trying to bring together a community of all women, like-minded people. But we still have a long way to cover. So let me share some numbers with you, Divya. I've been a banker, and numbers appeal to me more than anything. They can never lie. In India, for example, and just to substantiate the whole voice and influence bit. In India, for example, women hold only 8% of director positions and 8% of the top leadership roles among the top 100 BSC companies. That is one. Number two, of the 195, I think 195, yeah, 195 countries, independent countries in the world, only 19 are led by women. And number three, women hold just 22% of the global, across the world, women just hold 22% seats in parliament globally. So the blunt truth and the point I'm trying to make here, Divya, is that men still rule the world, right? This means that when it comes to making the decisions that affect you, that affect me, that affect most of all, our voices are not heard. You see these numbers, they are still in single digits. And in one of the recent forums I attended at MasterCard, I was invited by HR for a fika session. Fika means coffee break in Sweden. So, women leaders across the globe, we just get together and talk. And we all discussed, and that was an interesting statistic when I was thinking about these numbers, that given the current trend, it will take us 108 years. 108 years to close the gender gap and achieve parity basis the current rate of progress that we are making. So those are the numbers in front of you. But another way to approach is, I think, just knowing that things could be worse should never stop us from trying. We should try and make them better. That's the whole voice, and that's where the whole voice and power and influence comes into place. When you're overcoming self doubt, and this I'm talking about young women leaders or aspiring women leaders, and when you're overcoming self doubt and building your influence and voice, having a two-way dialogue with yourself always will help you. And this I'm talking through experience and something that has worked for me. Having a two-way dialogue always helps. And some of the questions, I think, Divya, which can support this two-way dialogue, is who inspires you to use your voice. Number one, who inspires you to use your voice and why? Do you have a role model? It can be a peer, it can be a co-worker. Like, for example, my role models, I think, in the COVID world have been my children. The way they have sailed through this entire pandemic, I think they are my role models today. So that is one aspect. Number two, have you been able to influence others when you're trying to build your voice, when you're trying to influence other people through your voice? How have you been able to influence others? Can you bring in your subject matter expertise and make your ideas worth considering to the other person? Because, see, everybody knows everything today, but what is your niche area? What is your subject matter expertise? How can you build more and more strength? For example, my subject matter expertise is payments today. So how can I influence, using my voice, influence others using my SME, which is payments? So that's another point which I feel young leaders should consider. And then the third is that How do you add value to meetings and ensure that other people's voices are heard too, particularly in a hybrid world? And I always tell myself, Divya, that take small steps, but start today. And start by making small changes. If you want to achieve, if you want to have your voice heard, start by making these small changes. Start by asking yourself these questions. Start by having a dialogue with yourself. And this is, I think, very important as a starting point, in building your voice and using your voice. And in the hybrid world, Divya, if I may jump on to the hybrid world, because that is the world that we all are living in today. I would like to share with the community members some of the things that have worked for me, you know, in the hybrid world. Because when you're in a face to face discussion, the dimensions, everything is very different. But in the hybrid world, overnight switching and trying to use your voice. So, some of the things that have worked for me is the raise hand feature. That's been a game changer for me in Teams, raising your hands. If there's a virtual hand, you can raise it. And I've been raised in a polite household, Parsi community, very polite. It is considered rude to interrupt it was in my household. I used to really struggle with getting my timing right to interject in a heated discussion. But this raise hand is just worked wonders for me. So whenever I have a question, I just raise my hand up, and somebody will usually notice and assist me into the discussion. So that is one way of using your voice in the hybrid world that women can use in forums, in virtual forums especially. And if your hand function is not working, if somebody is not able to assist you in the virtual Zoom meeting, that hand function worked, then you have the chat function. That's also another thing that has worked for me. Sometimes it's so much easier to interject and put all my points in the chat, writing them versus verbally. Like I can have so many things which I can write and communicate. So that's even more exciting. And I've seen more often than not, Divya, that I've got more responses and support in the chat for my points than in the real discussion. So I think these small tips, like I said, small start, small ways of changing, small ways of using your voice, having a dialogue with yourself. If I have to summarize, having a two-way dialogue, and trying to incorporate new techniques in the virtual hybrid world, like I just mentioned, they will definitely help in using voice and influence.
Lovely, Hufrish. And what practical tips, especially the little raise your hand and the chat. And I love how you are making the most of every situation. I think that's really the key here. I mean, of course, you have to know your matter, your subject matter expertise, and you have to also have the right people to back you. But I love how you're making the most of all the opportunities that are available. And thank you so much. We're almost at the end of the time, and we have some people on the app. There's Richa and there's Nidhi. Thank you so much for joining in. We'll be very happy to take any questions if you have for Hufrish. You can raise your hand. Or-
Yes.
but yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about the questions till then, I just wanted to take some time out and thank Hufrish for helping us also be a mentor. You volunteered to be a mentor on the Sechis community as well, and thank you so much for it. We need people. We need people. We need a lot of people. We need bold women. We need smart women. We need energetic women to help us and build our community brick by brick. It's a slow process, but we thank you so much for your time, Hufrish, today. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you.
Let's make this world a happier